When the slew of books that were part of the initial relaunch of DC Comics' New 52 world was announced in 2011, the title Justice League Dark was not on my list of books that I was interested in. I thought the title was really dumb, and I was not really familiar with any of the characters in the book. And the one character I did consider myself to be pretty familiar with, I didn't like. And rest assured, I wouldn't have read this book if I didn't see it at my library. I've said before, and chances are I'll say it again, if a book is at my library, I will read it so that I can see what's up, even if I wasn't initially interested in reading it when I first heard about it. That's what was going on with Marvel's Fear itself, and that's what's going on with the Justice League Dark book, titled In the Dark, oddly enough. Now, even though I wasn't interested enough to have this on my list of books I was sampling from the New 52, I was still hoping that this book might turn out to be pretty good. I had heard a few people say that this book was better than Geoff Johns and Jim Lee's main Justice League book, which I was not interested in either. And I like stories with magic most of the time, so I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a try. So anyway, that long diatribe was basically to explain where I stood before I read this book. Now on to my thoughts on the book itself. It is written by Peter Milligan and drawn by Michael Janin. The basic idea is somewhat self-evident. If the Justice League consists of the A-listers who you like and trust, the Justice League Dark is the team of shady people who do heroin and like to murder and con people and will handle the disgusting jobs that the main Justice League cannot handle. A pretty huge problem with this premise occurred to me as I delved into the story. These characters are wildly incompatible with each other, and I cannot really buy them as a functioning team. I guess this is sort of addressed at the end of the book, when Madame Xanadu convinces most of the players here that they must work together or the world will end. I'm not entirely sure what to make of this, though. This revelation comes from Madame Xanadu, who is maybe the least trustworthy person in this entire book, and that includes the evil witch corpse who is murdering blonde women all across the country, the con artist who admits he doesn't care about the rest of the world, and the guy who wants to torture the fiancée of some mobster that he murdered. Yeah, when you consider all of these dudes and dudettes, Madame Xanadu is still the least trustworthy and less likable of them all. This is mostly because literally everything that is bad in this book is all her fault. She can apparently see the future. I'm not sure if this is because she takes heroin or if she takes heroin because she sees the future. But we find out that she has separated the evil side from the good side of a character called the Enchantress. I don't actually know who that is, so we'll just move on. She did this because she knew that this would somehow bring together all of the people featured in this book. Deadman, John Constantine, Zatanna, Shade the Changing Man, and some guy named Mindwarp, who I don't know who he is either, and this book doesn't seem to know either. She seems to think that if they don't work together, then this bad future that she sees in her tarot cards will happen. Even though sometimes she says that the future cannot be changed, and yet every action she takes in this book seems to be because she wants to change the future. But can we really trust her after we realize that she is responsible for all of the death and tragedy that has happened here? Let me make it plain. She caused much death and mayhem just to say, hey, glad you guys got my message. And now, somehow, these guys believe her when she says that they need to stay together or the world will end. That either makes them really stupid, or it means that she's casting some kind of spell on them. Here's some advice for you people. Kill Madame Xanadu, and then you won't have any more problems. Anyway, as I described the plot of this story, it occurred to me that I really don't know any of these characters. I know I said that already, but I'm just reiterating. I don't know any of these guys. I mean, I know superficial things about Deadman and Shade the Changing Man and John Constantine. I have read a few stories with Constantine and Zatanna, but really, I don't know any of these characters except for Zatanna, and as I alluded earlier, I don't like her. I should mention that, for me, the big reason that I read a book or watch a movie or a television show is that I find the characters engaging. They don't necessarily have to be likable characters, although that does help. Sometimes the point of a story is that a character is unlikable and then becomes a better person after experiencing the events of the plot. But this book doesn't really do that. The characters I didn't know anything about, I find out that they are scumbags. And weirdly enough, the one character who I thought was a scumbag before this story, John Constantine, he turns out to be the most upstanding dude in this entire book. Just what kind of upside down world do I live in? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if every character in this book is unlikable, that makes me far less interested in reading this book. So outside of characters I have trouble connecting to, probably because I'm not a sociopath who likes to murder and torture people, what else does this book have to offer? Well, my other big problem with this book is how it's set up. Does anyone remember the television series Heroes? If not, it was a show that started in 2006. It was basically about these normal people who are all finding out that they have superpowers, and then over the course of an entire season, they slowly start to cross paths with each other, and they all, in their own little way, help save the world. Anyway, this book reminds me of Heroes. You have all of these characters who are seemingly unconnected, and they are all crossing paths with each other, and their combined efforts sort of help save the world. And that's what we get here. Constantine saves Zatanna, June Moon meets up with Deadman, Shade is trying to contact Deadman, Shade is working for Xanadu, Constantine punches Xanadu, Deadman doesn't like Constantine. It's all a big tangled web of what the heck is going on here. How does Deadman know Madame Xanadu when they finally meet? How does Constantine know Madame Xanadu is responsible for all of this? Why and how is Shade the Changing Man working for Xanadu? Isn't the whole point of Deadman that he can only communicate with other people while he's possessing someone? So why is he able to communicate with people while in ghost form? These questions are never answered, and more importantly, I feel like the creators of this book don't feel like these questions should be answered. I guess a lot of my problems with how this story plays out are exclusive to this story arc. Since this book was basically an extended origin story, the next storyline will almost certainly be what I was expecting to see in this volume, which is to say, a team of magic users from the underbelly of the DC Universe working together to fight things that are worse than them. And if that's what you were looking for, then maybe you will want to stick around with this series. I won't, for the same reason that I won't be following up Legion Lost, which I liked a lot more than this book. At the very end of this book, Madame Xanadu starts screaming about vampires and Andrew Bennett and something about the sire of them all. I don't even have to use Google to figure out that this means that Justice League Dark will be crossing over with the title I, Vampire, which stars a vampire called Andrew Bennett. I really am getting tired of giving this speech in each video where I review something from the New 52, but here it goes. I do not want all 52 titles in the DC Universe to cross over with each other. I do know why they do it. They think that there are going to be people reading Justice League Dark who are not reading Hawk and Dove or I, Vampire, and they think that if they put Dawn Granger in this story when she really doesn't have any reason to be here, that the people who usually don't care about Hawk and Dove will now go and check out her series because it is connected to Justice League Dark. And the people who weren't really interested in I, Vampire will now go and read that title because it is crossing over with Justice League Dark. And all I want to do is pull my hair out and scream. This technique doesn't even make me want to stay on a book that I liked, like Legion Lost. So, pointlessly crossing over a book that I really didn't like with a book I'm not interested in, what do you think that will result in, DC? Although I guess I can't complain too much, I did ask for this in my review of Legion Lost. As long as they keep doing this, I won't be reading any more DC comics. I have to save my money somewhere, right? So yeah, all sarcasm aside, this book is definitely not worth picking up if you ask me. If you want a story about a team of magic users teaming up to fight evil, I would suggest an earlier series from DC Comics called Shadow Pact. If you want characters that are more likable than the team of Justice League Dark, you could maybe try the movie Silence of the Lambs. Anyway, this is another book from the 52 titles that I can cross off my list. Maybe the next book I read will fare better than this mess. If you guys like this review, please like, share, and subscribe, and stick around for my next video. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Thanks.